Good morning, South Sudanese. Good morning, my fellow Australian brothers in the US, fellow South Sudanese in Europe and in Africa. We are live from the city of Perth. This is Kayamba FM, and we bring to you our weekly digest every Saturday morning in Australia, which is normally every Friday night for those in North America, and every Saturday morning, early morning in Central African time, which is around 4 a.m. in Juba. Now, first of all, congratulations to South Sudanese. And if you are hearing me, please let me know. If you can hear me clearly, let me know so that we ensure the program is running smoothly. It is our privilege to come to you every Saturday because we know together we can build our nations, we can build a country, we can build South Sudan. Last week and the week before that, we have been discussing topical issues, the thing that dominated the public opinion in our country, South Sudan. We have been discussing about Jonglei Canal. We have been discussing this topic because it is of national interest. It poses an existential threat to the very existence of our nation. It is a topic that has touched many. Wherever those Sudanese are, they have been discussing the Jonglei Canal and the river Naam dredging. Why does it raise a bit of a concern? Because we know water is a national resource that is precious. Yes, it is renewable, but it is of great importance to an extent that if you lose it, then the very existence of the nations is at stake. But judging from the public opinions and from the South Sudanese reaction, it is without doubt that our people had overwhelmingly rejected the idea of dredging the rivers. Our politicians have to go back to the drawing board and do a proper science, a proper scientific studies where the impact, the con and the pros, the cost-benefit analysis, the social impact assessment, environmental impact assessment, the sign of designing the dredging itself and planning. They have to go back to the drawing board and do the rethinking of what they thought they could do. So, congratulations, my fellow South Sudanese. I think you have done well, in my opinion. Now, the last week or so, South Sudanese have been gathered, and particularly those in Juba have gathered around a Freedom Hall under a flagship of the directive of His Excellency, the President, Salva Kiir Mayardit. And to the word of Professor John Akage, President Salva Kiir Mayardit is the SMC at the moment, is the patron of SMC, the Social Movement for Change. All right? He's the president of the president of the nation, but he has become the patron of the Social Movement for Change. He gave South Sudanese that opportunity to listen to themselves, to listen to the concern, regardless of what other people's opinion. I think, even though regardless of the objective, we think that the opinion of our people as South Sudanese in the diaspora at home is that unless there is a proper scientific studies, no dredging of our rivers. You cannot control floods by dredging rivers because floods are natural phenomena. We were prepared as FPD Institute to do a presentation in the public consultation forums. But because of technical challenges, we did not make it. We were not in the hall. But the public consultation is ongoing. It is an ongoing, and we know it is not yet done. It's not finished. So we may have an opportunity to appear and do the presentation as well. The reason we had wanted to be part of the public consultation forums was to demonstrate that even though dredging could be done, it is done under certain conditions, under certain parameters, under certain regulations, under a certain rules, where the condition, the environment, the geology, and the river morphology allow it. I'm talking to you from the mining engineering perspective and from the science perspective, because I've been involved in the mining industry for the last 15 years of my life. And I have delivered 6 dredging projects, the mining of heavy minerals. We call them the mineral sand. So the mining industry applied dredging day in, day out. We have involved in control of plot and preparations of the plan to protect assets, properties, and life, and particularly in the northern corridor of Australia, where it has been hit by cyclones every now and then. And Australia experienced a lot of cyclones. And for those who are in Western Australia, the northern corridor of the state registers between 6 to 9 cyclones a year. The magnitude do vary. So we are talking of things that we know. So as FED Institute and as a member of the team and as a co-host of this program, we believe that if South Sudan has to progress, I think the public participation is very critical. And for the good gesture, for showing a courage to open up to the public, we say congratulations to His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit for giving South Sudanese the opportunity to talk among themselves, to talk to one another, to learn from each other. We don't believe what was done is enough. We believe there is still more to be done. Yeah, there is still more to be done. What was discussed for the last 5 days was all about the waters. But people have not gone to the technical and the engineering perspective of it. The contentious design has not been seen. Personally, I have not seen the planning and the design of the dredging. That's what we need to see. We encourage the government of South Sudan, and we still call upon His Excellency the President to order the ministries that were responsible on the signing of those MOUs to release them publicly, so that our expert can have a look. We need to have a look at the plan. Now the president has come out to give the public a chance to talk. We still need some accountability for those who go and sign things and allow machine to come to the nations without any due diligence. You cannot just go and sign a contract or bring to the nations a foreign entity to mess with your natural resources without question being asked. We need to see factual information at which some of the politicians were talking to. There's no sign to it. And I bet you all the expert or anyone that was given a chance to speak in the last 5 days, they have all rejected it. Why? Because it is something rational. You don't need to be a typical scientist for you to know that what was done was wrong. It is a matter of logic. Yes, it is just being logical. That's what was needed. The relevant ministries need to behave logically. The cabinet that approved things, they are the one that should be very careful. The politician should always remain a politician are decision makers, but they cannot be technical people at the same time. The nation will lose if things keep running the way we do them. Now, South Sudanese have shown light on what they think should have not been done. Now I think there is a room to go a little bit much further and look at things technically. I don't believe the fact that South Sudanese are not have expert on human resources. That is a myth and that is a lie. As I speak to you, I do speak to many colleagues in East Africa who are involved in mining and in natural resource management. To tell you the truth, South Sudan has more expert in natural resource management than our neighboring countries, Uganda and Kenya combined. We have a lot of experts. I have conversation with many colleagues teaching in the universities in Kenya. And there is only one or two universities, the JKUAT and Taita Beta, that have tried to develop a niche in management of natural resources, particularly mining. And guess what? We end up with more qualified people as South Sudanese than the East Africa. So the idea that we have to run outside to go and look for the expert, what you have seen in the Freedom Hall was just the tip of an iceberg. And we at FPD Institute, the in-house level of expertise we have is unbelievable. Every single issue can be handled by South Sudanese. Yes. If I now, let's talk about Kenya. If you put all the universities, what is being produced at the universities in Kenya and Uganda together, I tell you South Sudan will be leading in terms of natural resource management, in terms of expert. We are more mining engineers than Kenya and Uganda. We have so many mining engineers with PhDs than Kenya and Uganda combined. I only know one qualified top geologist who was head of one of the department in one of the Kenyan university. I'm talking from the experience. So South Sudan is a very blessed country with a well-informed human resource, with a vast natural resource, with plenty of fresh water. Singapore spends close to 30% of its budget each year buying water. South Sudan is willing to give it away. See how blessed you are. Therefore, to the social movement for change, or the social media something, Professor John has termed that as social movement for change. And I like the word and the innovation of Professor John Akage. Yes, the patron of social movement for change, President Salva Kiir, has given us an opportunity to say no to an ill-informed dredging. So congratulations, South Sudanese. Now, let me bring you briefly to one of the critical things that I think it may be of your interest as South Sudanese. I think it will be of your interest. Let me share my screen here because I believe you will benefit better. We should have shared this if we had a chance to be present in the forum. But we were not in. But it doesn't stop us from sharing it. I can still share. I can still share with you. Let me position myself properly. Yep, that way is much better. Now, in the last 5 days, people have talked of water. But what we need to find out and think that did not come out was the intent of the dredging. What were the intentions of that dredging? What was the intention? I'll just share one slide, not all the slide. And for those who may be willing to join me, feel free to call in. Let me open the line, and I will also share the video link if anyone want to join. Let's give me a minute. I would wanna. I'm not seeing any comments, so I'm not sure whether anyone is commenting. But if there are any comment coming, I will be able to see them. All right. So let me see whether there is. Okay. It looked like there are found notification. So okay. So let me open the line in order for you to be able to call in. And okay, let me host it. Okay.
You are the only participant in the conference.
Okay. So if anyone call, you can call on those numbers which I have shared. So you can call on those numbers which I've shared to be part, and you can ask a question. I will also share the link. But what I want to say is this. As you can see, in 1899, and there have been a lot of this you would have seen, but I thought we can simply show you a tree diagram of what has been happening in your nation for you to see. Okay? In 1899, an expedition was ordered by the Anglo-Egyptian government, sending Sir Gassin Williams down. And in 1904, he failed, and he came up with the Gassin card. The reason of the Gassin card was Egypt needed to be governed peacefully at that time. And for them to govern Egypt peacefully, they have to make sure there is plenty of water coming into Egypt. They have to control the source of the Nile. So they sent Gassin William, who was with the Ministry of Public Work in 1899. He came to clear the suit. The idea that if we don't clear the suit, they may turn into forest. That is a lie. Since 450 before Christ, okay, 450 BC, Herodotus, it is a Greek historian, wrote that the Nile, that is when the Nile was coined it as the lifeline of Egypt. That is when the term comes into. It came in 450 before Christ. Herodotus, those who read history will know that he was a great historian who wrote a lot about Christ. So he said at 450, Egyptians start collecting data about the flow of the Nile. Right? So the river throughout history, the water would always find their course. It will never be blocked, because the only thing that brings disaster is when humans interfere with nature. When you interfere with the nature, it becomes disastrous. So they came down the Nile to clear the river. And when they were clearing the river, they could not manage to go through the suit. So they came up with what they called the Gassin Card in 1904, 5 years after failure. And then in 1929, Egypt said, okay, even though we need the water, we don't have the right to control. So British had to trade off. And to the word of Professor Touch is right. The 1929 was a colonial treaty. It was a treaty between British and Egypt. That's what it was. It is not for South Sudan. So it gave Egypt a claim to formally claim the total authority over the Nile. In fact, they call it the Niles. Even though we are the heart of the Nile, Sat is the heart of the Nile. And by the way, the word Sudan had a connotation with the Sud. So the Sud. So after 5 years in the Sud, he failed. So he could not clear the Sud. And therefore, they said, okay, for us to do anything in the future, let's have a treaty. They signed the treaty in 1929. And then they were dealing with the treaties. That treaty was signed when someone called A.D. Busher, he was also a civil engineer working with the Ministry of Public Works. He spent 80 years in the South from 1920 to 1928. And this is why people have to understand the basis of the 1929 treaty. Okay? If you read history, you will note that what brings the 1929 treaty? Why? 1929 treaty was a result of the report of A.D. Busher. A.D. Busher went to the South in 1920, and he went with a contingent of workers. Many of them was Black African, the Nubians, workers from Khartoum. He went down to clear the South. They went with their machetes and pangas and hooks to cut it. They could not do it. The little canoe could not do it. It's not that there was no passage. There was passage of water, but they wanted to ensure that the flow was big enough. So when he went back, after 8 years, in 1928, when he went to Egypt, he told them that when he went to Egypt, he told them that this South, the vegetation could not be clear easily. Okay? He told them about how you find the meandering and the movement of the river. So they said, for us to have a right to do anything, first, let's have the right, let's have a treaty. So Egypt and British have to sign a treaty. For British to continue to colonize through Egypt down the Nile, they have to give Egyptians what they need. So they came up with the 1929 treaty. And that treaty came in 10 years before the Sud hydraulic of 1938. Okay? That is 1938. So in 1938, the Sud hydraulic report revived the idea of cutting the canal. What was the intent? To give Egypt more water. In other words, anything about the clearing, the dredging, and cutting the vegetation has all been about taking the water north. Simple. Professor Thatcher said that, but I thought I should bring in an image for you to see. That's why that presentation is there for you to see. It has all been about cutting through the South area to take more water north. That's what it has been throughout the history. Okay? And that's why we go back. And if you are not very careful about what you sign on to, you may end up giving your country away. If it was meant for us, why would a foreign entity come with their machine and start funding it? Tell me. Kenya, which does not need water, did they bring their machine down to South Sudan? Did Uganda come down with the machine is wasting their money? No. Egypt needs water. Therefore, the idea of the flooding being controlled it's a lie. All the experts agree. So I'm not going to talk about what all the experts agree. We have been controlling flood each year. In the next 2 months, from August all the way to October, each year, one of the things which I do, each year, one of the things that I do each year, between August to October, is to prepare what we call the extreme weather preparedness plan for the northern Western Australia, where the mining companies operate. because we have to look at the cyclone forecast, the amount of rain, how to control the flood. There are so many creeks, you don't divert them, all right? Because the problem is when you start cutting the channel and divert them, you are constraining the water. And when you constrain the volume, just take it like this. If you constrain it, it will spill over, and the speed and the spoil will settle all over the place. The sedimentation will damage the environment. So the idea that it is for controlling the flood, it's not true. That's why we want to show you the history. Therefore, in 1959, but before that, in 45, when John Winder, who was the district commissioner in Malakal, because when Sudan was colonized, it was Anglo-Egyptian condominiums, where the government in Khartoum was part and parcels, was a inferior kind of inferior government, because the superior government was in Cairo. And those who are in Khartoum, they are like semi-autonomous colony, but they were reporting to their mates in Cairo. So there was a district commissioner who was managing the Upper Nile province. It was a district, the whole of Upper Nile was being run by a district commissioner called John Winder. John Winder looked at the SAT hydraulics and he rejected it. The same way the panel of experts today rejected it. The same way we are specialized in management of natural resources rejected it. He rejected it for one fact, that cutting the canal, dredging of the rivers was a bad idea. It was true in 1939. It is still true today. The reason we have this channel is a public education. And Kayamba FM do us FED Institute every Saturday. The reason we host FED Institute is to bring in our expert. And our program is called Know Your Expert. The idea of who is an expert has been diluted a bit among the South Sudanese. That's not my topic, but we'll talk about it some other time. And feel free to call, okay? Yeah, the numbers are on the video. Share the video, please, and call in to ask a question. Because if you call, you will come straight to the studio, and I will hear. So, Winder rejected it. And his rejection was very simple. He said the Nilotes who live in the South regions will be decimated. They will be destroyed. The livelihood will disappear. Then, because of that resistance, which came from people on the ground, the Jonglei Committee was formed in 1945 by Herbert Helderstone, who was the Governor General of Sudan in 1945 in Khartoum. The Jonglei Committee was to negotiate to lead the negotiation between Sudan and Cairo and Egypt, Khartoum and Cairo. But Egypt was very contentious. Egypt was very contentious of the Sudanese approach. They see them as inferior. They did not want to negotiate with them. So they did not budge on anything. And as a result, the process installed. It was stalled in a way that it could not progress. Because the process stalled, it could not progress. It dragged on until 1956, when Sudan gained its independence. And when Sudan gained its independence, the new elites in Khartoum were looking for a new policy to sell to the Sudanese public. So they came up with the Sudan at the breadbasket, which was to counter the Egypt water storage, century water storage scheme in Egypt. And one thing you need to know, Egypt had a plan that we have to always ensure we have a reservoir of water that can keep the country running for 100 years. History has a history of droughts. Egypt has a history of drought. Okay? One of the prominent drought which has been recorded in history and also in the Bible was the one that happened during the time of Pharaoh and Moses. It is recorded in history by a Greek historian, Herodotus, and it's also recorded biblically as well. The whole nation went for 70 years without anything. The Nile was almost running dry. So, and there are so many stories where the Nile has almost run dry, where the volume of water coming down to Egypt could not sustain. So, as I said before, Egypt has been keeping records since 450 BC, from 450 years before Christ. That means it is over 2,500 years ago. Egypt has been keeping record. Over 2,500 years, Egypt has been recording the volume of water going down to Cairo. Okay? Because they have been having a measurement point at Alexandria. So they have a history of drought. They know that drought is much worse than flood. Egyptians are more happy to have a lot of flooding than a drought. To South Sudanese, it is a reverse psychology. South Sudanese are worried of a short-term impact, but Egyptians know that with flooding they can survive. All right? I just want to reiterate that point. So Egypt knows the impact of drought. And that's why they've been keeping records since 450 BC. Because there was one during the time of number of Pharaoh, they know what a drought can do. So flooding is never worse than a drought. Are we saying that there is no human suffering? Of course, there is always a human suffering. But you can mitigate it. You can mitigate it. But there's no way you can mitigate the absence of water. Okay? If water is not there, it's not there. It's no life. So, what happened is Sudan want to encounter the century water storage scheme which Egypt put forward in 1920s. And that was the reason of A.D. Butcher being sent down the south to clear it. So Sudan came up with the policy of becoming the breadbasket for the Middle East in 1956. That scheme put Sudan to have a new reason for negotiations. So the objection was about impact on the Nile, but now the objection of the Sudan went to what is our share of the Nile, and that is when 1959 came in. I hope you are getting the story. You are getting the gist of the story here, and that's why I'm having the timeline. Okay, so the 1959 agreement was meant to give Sudan its share of water. And that is why you see in the history, people are talking of 55 and 18. A billion cubic meters of water. Now, that scheme was not rectified, and it went on until 1974, when they finally agree. And when they agree in 1974, then they sign for the construction of the Jonglei Canal, and with approval for Egypt to do any river clearing they want to do. So in 1978, canal digging started. But then it did not go down quite well. And I want to tell you one thing. Anything that has always agitated the public in Sudan and South Sudan has always been about the Nile waters. The Nile waters and the water in general has led to the rise and the demise of kingdoms. Anyone who misinform the government when it comes to water will take them as someone who does not like the government. And therefore, that's why we recommend our President Salva Kiir Mayardit. I want to repeat, water is a national security issue, as has been put by so many. And I've been saying this for the last few weeks. Water is a national security issue. It is worse than anything. The public can tolerate anything from their government, but the public cannot tolerate anything that take away their livelihood, because it will dry them up, it will take away their green pasture, it will impact their fisheries, it impact their touch, which is a sad. It impact everything, even the rain pattern in the western part of Equatoria, the rain pattern, it impact everything. My well-informed advised, well-informed, not ill-informed, my well-informed, well-researched advice to the policymakers in the Republic of South Sudan: do not create a problem for the government of South Sudan. Do not create a problem, because the public opinion is overwhelmingly rejecting the idea of dredging. Therefore, when it comes to water, the only way to maintain peace and harmony in the nation is when all the communities are not fighting over water. So, when they resume signed agreement in 74 and start digging in 1978, there were a lot of riots. We have seen a video lately from one of the former student activists. He's a member of the Legislative Council now, a member of the State Council, which is the upper house of South Sudan. Because South Sudan has two houses. We have the Legislative Assembly, which is the Parliament, the lower house, and we have the State Council, the upper house. Put it, for the layman, let's put it this way. If you are in the US, you have the Congress and the Senate. The State Council is like the Senate, and the Parliament, the Legislative Assembly, is like the Congress. In Australia, it's like the Senate is the State Council, and the House of the Common, which is the lower house, is like the Legislative Assembly. So the State Council in South Sudan is where all this information should be put to, because they should be the last people to approve them, because they represent the states. We are a federation, right? We are a federation, but with a very powerful central government. So I'm not talking politics, but I just want you to understand the way South Sudan has been structured now. We have the Legislative Assembly, which is the Parliament, and we have the State Council. The State Council is the equivalent of the US Senate. It is the Senate that normally certified the election of the President of the United States of America. It is the Senate that can sign the impeachment of the President of the United States of America. The reason we always give example of the US, because it is the most powerful nation on earth. So you give example when in the level of power. The most powerful entity on earth is the United States of America. As we speak, is the only powerful entity, regardless of everybody else saying I'm powerful, I'm powerful. United States is at the top. So take the State Council of South Sudan at the upper house in Australia, or the Senate of the US. That's what it is. That's what it's supposed to be. Whether they are doing the job or not, that is not my problem. But I'm just giving an example. So the State Council is where some of these issues affecting state should go to. And the Legislative Assembly is the Parliament. Is like the Congress, is where your representatives sit. And the state representatives sit in the State Council. So maybe it may be a discussion for another day, but that's how the Parliament is structured in South Sudan. Well, we know that today parliament is diluted. It is a revitalized parliament where people are picked. And I don't even know the number anymore because every time they rectified the peace agreement and they revitalize it, there is new MPs. Every time they have a bit of quarrel, there are new MPs. Every time there is a bit of aji-waji, there is a number. So I don't know the number of parliamentarians now. The last time I checked was 450, which is the huge and the largest parliament on earth. Maybe comparable to the Chinese parliament, which is, and the parliament in China, the People's Republic of China, is 1.2 billion, right? 1.3 billion to be exact. Now, the parliament is huge, you could understand. But how many of us? We are 12 million. Our parliament is already talking 450, and the last time there were more MPs to be nominated, right? So everyone in the street of Juba is a member of parliament, is a honorable. Yeah, which is good, yeah? That is progress. That is peace. So we have everyone. Yeah, we have so many MPs in the state parliament. We have so many MPs in there. So, but my point is, the state legislative council, the state council is like the Senate. So that's where some of this project would go to. So now let's come back to our topic. So what they did, in 1978, a student went to the street and they riot. There were a lot of demonstration. Number of students were killed. At the same time, that was the time when Dr. Grang started doing his PhD. So he picked up the issue of Jonglei Canal and he wrote a dissertation on it. And I've read his dissertation actually. I've read it from page to page. It's a good piece of work. So he came back with the conclusion that there have to be a better way to do the rural development. Because what was put as an excuse of the Jonglei Canal was to bring development in the area. So his dissertation was, you call it Jonglei Projects Area. That was the area he looked at. So he called for a holistic approach. He said the current approach we have, where you just want to go and dig the canal and said we're going to do the development. No. Actually, what Dr. Grang said is what was said in the last 5 days in Freedom Hall. And if people take time and read, there is a lot of work already done, to be honest. I'm not saying Dr. Grang says it's the only piece of work. There is a lot of literary work. A lot of literature is out there. A lot of literature is out. The level of material that is available to the people of South Sudan is enormous. The reason I pick a Dr. Grang's thesis is he focus on Jonglei project area only. There's nothing else he look at. He look at the Jonglei project area from the social perspective. That's how he approach it. Dr. Grang approached it from the social and economic perspective. Dr. Grang says it was not scientific from the environmental perspective. No, he was more economical on the social perspective. And he said that project is not the best way to do the development. His reservation was do the feasibility studies. That's what Grang recommended. In 1981, he said we need a holistic studies. What he meant was you need social scientists to be there, you need engineers like us to be there, you need economists to be there, you need environmentalists to be there, you need politicians as part of the study, because it has to be viewed. How does the river dredging Jonglei Canal affect the life socially, culturally? Would the Nuer and the Dinkas and the Shiluk and everyone and the Mundaris who are always proud of their torch, which is in the south. And by the way, the word torch now has been assimilated internationally Because you cannot talk of SAT without talking about touch. If you read a work that has been written about Jonglei Canal and the SAT, you will not be talking of the life of the people without mentioning touch. Touch has become a assimilated word of capturing the social value of the SAT. That word. So all the scientific papers, for them to describe exactly what SAT mean to the local people, they have to talk of touch. And touch stands for more things than just being swamped. It stands for livelihood. It stands for the economic progress of the people. It stands for the social progress. It stands for as a sense of pride. It is kind of a cultural heritage and cultural connection. And that is why at FPD Institute, we said we do the research, we engage, and we reconnect with our touch. So, Grand Road, he says, is in 1981. And when the mutiny happened in 1983, as you could see here from my slide, as you could see, 1983, the SPLM, SPLA listed Jonglei Canal and anything to do with the river as number 3 in the top of their priorities. It was number 3 in the agenda. And that's why you see the patriotic leader of the SPLM, the patron of the SMC, is no longer a social media criminal. It is social movement for change. The patron of the social movement for change, His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit, was among the people who set and listed the agendas, the top priorities of the SPLM. When they listed the top priorities of the SPLM, was Dr. Graham, was the late William Nyanbany, was the late Arong Thonarok, was the late Maulana Judge Martin Majargai, was General Kwalmanyang, His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, Mark Newport, Nyan Kigag Nyachuluk, General Owen Akut, and many more. Yeah, there were many of them, right? But I'm just giving the top. These people, they listed it. And the waters of the Nile, the southwestland, the Torch, and the rivers of South Sudan were recognized as the livelihood of the people. And for our people to continue, and if we are to fight the marginalization of the people, we have to stop anything that impacts their life. And that is why they make sure the Jonglei Canal was halted. Okay? They make sure the Jonglei Canal was halted in 1984. Okay? That is when they halted the Jonglei Canal. In 1984, they stopped it. Okay? And then what happened after that? Then, in 2011, South Sudan succeeded and became a republic of its own. We became a nation at our own right. Okay? We became a nation in 2000. We became a nation in 2011. That's when South Sudan gained its independence. But just before 2011, Egypt stepped up its diplomatic relation with the Republic of South Sudan. Egypt has been working very hard. Yes, they brought some good things. But remember, there is no such thing as a free lunch. To my fellow South Sudanese, there is no such thing as a free lunch. You need to know. There is no such thing as a free lunch. if China donates something, they are donating it and they will come for something at the end of the day. By the way, you have seen Sri Lanka just gone down the wire. Are you watching the news? Because Sri Lanka was receiving a lot of goodies, a lot of donation, was receiving a lot of free loan, was receiving everything free things come with a string attachment. There's no such thing as free thing, no free loan, no free thing, nothing. So Egypt stepped up in diplomatic relation, and they were among the few nations who worked very hard, by the way, before 2011. And we have to give this credit to His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit. We have to give credit where it's due. Egypt did everything possible for South Sudan not to be an independent nation. Mark my word. I have nothing against Egypt. But it is the dynamics. All this instigation of little wars here and there before the 2011, before the referendums. In 2010 elections, there was the view from Egypt that census shouldn't occur. And then, before 2011 referendum, Egypt worked very hard. And the policy of Egypt was very simple. The way CPA was designed had one simple principle. It put the onus of uniting Sudan into the hand of Khartoum. Do you get my word? And this is where the cleverness and the genius of the late Dr. Grant comes in. You know, Dr. Grant has coined a phrase and became part of the CPA, Comprehensive Peace Agreement, making unity attractive. Now, Egypt worked very hard on the Khartoum, for Khartoum to make unity attractive, because Egypt did not want South Sudan to separate. But Khartoum did not see that. They were very contentious in a way. They were thinking that they will tip President Salva Kiir Mayardit into a war and the independence will not occur. That is where they get it wrong. And President Salva Kiir and the SPLM were very patient. And that's why you see a bit of provocation at Iglix, and there was very serious fighting. There were also some provocation along the Unity State border. There were some provocations at northern Bargadal borders. The borders were put as an issue. Abiy was about to be used to stop the independence of South Sudan, and the SPLM and President Salva Kiir Mayardit persevere. Blue Nile was also brought up as something to stop the independence of South Sudan. And if there is something we have to be proud of, it is having an independent South Sudan. Okay? That is one thing we should all be proud of. Okay? Having an independent South Sudan is something we should all be proud of. It is something which Egypt did not want to see. Having an independent South Sudan, Egypt did not want to see it. They had wanted to make sure that we remain as one nation. Because of what reason? If we remain as one nation, then the 1929 and 1959 Nile treaties will remain. That's why Egypt did not want us to be an independent nation. Okay? So Egypt worked very hard for us to remain united. But thanks to the SPLM and the people of South Sudan, they voted overwhelmingly. We vote here in the diaspora. Yep. We also vote. We exercise our right as well. We voted to be a nation. All of us have done our part. So, Egypt continued to work on South Sudan. But then what happened? What impacted the current debate? The dredging of the Naam River. And that became a controversy. The Ministry of Environment said they didn't know it. They have not been consulted. They have not given an okay to it. Okay? They say they did not give an okay. They did not give an okay. But the Ministry of Water Resources is saying it is the decision of the cabinet. It becomes a saga. Okay? It becomes something that is causing a problem. The Ministry of Environment didn't know it. The Ministry of Water Resources said it is a cabinet decision. Now, come on. The top leadership, except President Salva Kiir Mayardit, say it has to happen. The top SPLM, loyal SPLM members like Gerald Kwalmanyang, they know this is what they fought against, and it should not happen. Now the patron of the SMC, Social Movement for Change, President Salva Kiir Mayardit, launched a public consultation, and congratulations to South Sudanese because they have overwhelmingly rejected the idea of dredging rivers without a proper consultation. That is the outcome. And I think it is something we should all be proud of. That is what I had wanted to discuss today. In the next few weeks, we'll be having some few programs coming up. But there is nothing stopping you participating in the discussion. You can be part of this discussion. The numbers are there. And I think I will share the link. Just in case anyone may want to, just in case anyone may want to be a participant here, let me share the link on my wall. And let me share the links here. I just want to share the link with you, just in case any of you, no, not that. Let me share the links. Let me go to the original page and edit it and share the link with you. If any of you want to be a participant, you can join me. The link will be here as well. So that is the invitation link, friends. If you want to call on a number, call. And if you want to join, just follow the link. I've just updated it. Just after the number, there is that link there. Just click on the link and you come in. If you want to ask a question, you can also comment. I think there are 3 comments here. Is it? Okay. Yep. Someone is saying, well done, Spanchulijok. Thanks, Spanchulijok. Anyone with a question, you can ask a question. So I'm reading comment now. So now, before I wind up, let's look at the news. That is what we call South Sudan in the media. As I said last week, thanks to Dr. Mayom. He is member of the FED Institute, Dr. Mayom Ajin Anyet. We call him Dr. Mix. It's Mick. Dr. Mix is my fellow mining engineer. Apparently, we have been to the same school with Dr. Mayom. We went to Ballarat School of Mine. Then we end up doing PhD under the same school, Western Australia School of Mine. And Dr. Mick actually is specialized in artisanal mining. You know, those one is campaigning for gold in Kenya? He studied. And that's what I said before. If you rank South Sudan with these African countries, we have more qualified mining engineers and people in academia in the natural resources management than Kenya and Uganda combined. And I think Dr. Mayong will agree with me on that. I know 3 Kenyan. One of them is a master's student, and he may be coming here in the next few months or so to become apparently one of my students, and he was running an institution producing students who are supposed to be mining engineers. So Sudan has more qualified people than East Africa combined. So the myth that we're going to get for expert outside is a lie. Only that we have inferiority complex. We don't look in And that is the principle. So maybe Mix and I will appear in one of the few occasions on this. And we want to educate, as FED Institute on Kayamba FM, the public need to be told what they need to hear in terms of being objective and the truth. We are not here to bash anybody. We are not, we are an institution that prides itself in public awareness and education. No matter how small it may be to others, we think if we change one or two people, or at least if we give them information, I think it's great. So the link is there, folks. But let's see what is happening in South Sudan in the media. What I've done lately, I don't play music because there is this tendency where people go and play keyboards and they copyright everything. Some of our videos where we play the tune from yep, thanks Mix, and it's true. Thing about dredging, it's a fundamental unit we study in mining engineering. Apparently, people were focusing of talking of the expert, and the mining engineers and geologists were not part of the panel. Of course, the environmentalists were there, which is great, but in the consultation forums, it's more activism than the technical side. So, but I hope we'll have an opportunity sometime to present some technical stuff as well. So, if we design things and operate them here, I don't know what, but anyway, we are looking forward to engage, and we'll be engaging. And by the way, FED Institute is cooperating with local universities down there in Juba. Let me bring something up. Give me a minute. FED Institute is cooperating with our local universities. We have John Garang University down there. We have Juba University and many other local institutions. We will be collaborating with them as an FED Institute. You'll see that FED Institute, Forum for Peace and Development, that is our institute. We'll be collaborating with the local universities. We are already in discussion with them because we can contribute positively in building up of the nation. And as we do that, we'll do it with the knowledge and understanding that our nation is very fragile. South Sudan is fragile, and it's a nation that needs people to be mindful about what they said, how they said it, and the mean they said it. So we are very conscious of that. FED Institute is non-partisan. We don't take part in politics. We are not politicians. We are researchers. We are in academia. We are in our profession in the industry. Most of our members are professional people who are working in their chosen discipline in the diaspora and back home in South Sudan. We have members at local universities, by the way. So we are a network of people who are very sober, informed on the issues, and we bring them on. The reason I keep on to how the show is that commitment, because when you are starting something, you want to push it to an extent that you can bring people on board. So we are restructuring ourselves now, and you'll see new faces, representation across South Sudan, because ours is to bring knowledge to the people. But aside from that, let's look at what is in South Sudan today in the media. We have a machine learning algorithm. That is one of the things that I've given myself time to do. We have a machine learning algorithm that, let me pull this one here for you to see. So we have a machine learning algorithm that look at the people, that look at the news, and will filter out anything about South Sudan. If they are saying anything bad about South Sudan in the media, we get it. If they are saying anything positive about South Sudan, we get it. We do a machine learning. It is a robot. It goes there and it starts mining the information. So South Sudan in the media is part of FED Institute website. Let me share the screen, friend. Just before I finish, let me share what is being said. So our robot is doing its work. Our robot has been going out to see what is happening. So now, let's see. I don't know why they have done so, but they have turned the pulpit, a place which should be a sanctuary of peace, to become a war zone. Now they're talking to negotiate peace in the church, which is really very sad and a shame. I'm not going at anybody, but we know the church to be the peaceful place. For those one of the Muslim faith, they will go to the mosque, mosque. For the Christian, you go to the church, you go to the chapel, you go to the cathedral, you go to the synagogue to find peace and harmony. But guess what? It has been turned into a war zone. By the way, no one will go to heaven by decrees. So they're issuing decrees in the church, decreeing each other out. And it had to take the intervention of His Excellency, the President. But it's not only one denomination. Across the world, the church is at war with itself. So that was in the headline. And this was reported by Tidings Online. This one was reported by Yahoo. South Sudan talk resume in Rome. Okay. A bit of a good news. You can see Honorable Pagana Mom and His Excellency and Honorable Minister Dr. Marial Benjamin there. That is a discussion in Rome. It has resumed. It was reported by Nation.Africa News. Forming young entrepreneurs in South Sudan. This is the Job Creation and Trade Development, ITC. I think that was the project. And then the rest is all about the Swaziland. Okay, this one was APN News. APN are international, by the way. Some of the news reporters here, I don't even know them. Which nation? This one is in New York. This one is somewhere, I think, in China. So, South Sudan set for a great solar. That's good. So they said a Kampala-based developer, Aptec Africa, said it planned to build 12 megawatts solar plant in South Sudan. That is electricity from solar energy. That one there, you can see it. All right, a Ugandan company. So, and then the rest is about suspension of the Naam River on dredging the Sun. So that is South Sudan in the media will continue to capture what is happening. Those are the dredging machine. I think they look like old machine there. I don't know that picture, whether it's more recent. It look rusted. This one here, it look rusted. Doesn't look new. But whichever way, this one was reported in Ghana. You see? See the beauty of it. See how the issue of SAD has gone international. This one was reported in Ghana. They call it the Ghana Wave. It was talking about South Sudan suspend dredging of Nile tributaries. This was reported in Ghana. Okay, you can read it by yourself. So where do you find them? You come to the news. This one is, this one looked like it was reported here in Australia. It's called Midland. It's also reporting about the South wetland. Let's see what they said about it. The Midland Daily News. Oh, good. I didn't know that. You see here, it is Deng Machol Associated Press. So it's Midland Daily News. Okay. Okay. I'm learning some things here. Okay. In Unity State. Okay. But anyway, so this one is Associated Press, and it was reported here in Midland. Deng Machol, I may need to know him. He wrote a very good article. But anyway, yeah, I may need to reach out to Associated Press. But that's a good one. Yeah. So that's it, friend. That's it. We will continue. So that is South Sudan in the media. We make sure we capture everything. This is the beauty of artificial intelligence, right? Without doing any hard work, I don't have to Google anything. I just pull it in. Let the artificial intelligence do it for you. I love it. It's like, I don't have to go and worry of finding the news. It's just a couple line of quotes, and the whole wave, as long as reported in the internet, we will get it. The only thing we'll not get it is the thing that you reported on your own Twitter handles. But if you are a public figure and you have a Twitter handle, we can pull it in as well. That's the only thing. So that is South Sudan in the media, South Sudan in the news. I think I have my 1 hour. I thought it was going to be 30 minutes. But look, I appreciate you being with me along the way. And I thank everyone that has tuned in today. I think it has been a privilege to be part of FPD Institute. I will encourage people to join. Reach out to me. Follow the page. Share the videos. We will be doing some seminars and presentation with many of our experts in the future. We are collaborating with local universities at the moment. So if you are a South Sudanese, regardless of where you are, you can become a member. You can join the movement, intellectual grounds, where we give opportunity for you to present. We don't discuss on the subjective opinion or hearsay, I hear, so no. You come with scientific fact, you hit it, and with the material that if we want to go and follow up and read, we can read. All right? That's what we do. That is why we are an institute. Okay? It's not to, and no one is filtered out. Everyone. We encourage everyone to join. Okay? We encourage everyone to join. Reach out. So, yep, I have a fellow calling me here, and I don't know whether he's calling to join, but I think I will call him later. So anyway, that's what it is, friend. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. Actually, our week end on Saturday. So the week start tomorrow. So we'll see you some other time. If I need to come later in the week, I will do so. All right. This one is let end that one. So if I need to come during the weeks, we'll do so. But keep an eye out. We'll be streaming from the YouTube most of the time. The reason we want to move away, Facebook is very unstable when it comes to having a proper media channel. Facebook is very unstable. We have seen a lot of well set up channels disappearing on Facebook. Facebook is actually may die, may go MySpace way. For those who don't have the history of the social media, Facebook is not the first one. There used to be MySpace.com. MySpace was the biggest. MySpace was like the Yahoo in 1990s. It was the biggest. But what happened? It mishandled people data and it disappeared. Facebook is very unstable. I'm saying even though I'm streaming on Facebook, I'm also streaming on YouTube just to make sure we are covered. So we'll be streaming from YouTube moving forward. We'll be streaming from YouTube. And if any of you want to join, feel free to do so. Send a comment. You want to ask a question? Send a comment, and we will be more than happy to show you. So send a comment. Feel free, and we can let you join. And that will be the best way to participate. Go to our YouTube page and always follow it. Okay? The reason we do that is for our message to reach out. We are not monetized in any way. So we are not interested. We are here to give information as our patriotic duty to the public of South Sudan. All right, folks, have a good weekend. Have a good week. See you next time. You are listening to Kayamba FM, coming straight from the city of Perth in Australia. We are live every Saturday morning, around 9 a.m. Australian Western Standard Times, 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time in New York, 4 a.m. Central African Time in Juba. We are always simulcasting online, and we are launching an apps, by the way. I will encourage you to download our apps where you can get Kayamba FM. The Kayamba FM apps is going to be live. Okay? And I will share it here. We are listed actually on so many online radio. And yep, so we are on so many online radios, and you will find us, and we have our own community that you can join. Let me bring the app up. So let me bring the app up for you to join. I will share it later anyway. So have a good week and have a good weekend. See you some other time. Bye-bye for now.